The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Wednesday, the 6th day of October, 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House One Communications and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with the Michaela Ian, and Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to bring us the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Kales, how you doing? It's hump day.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. So Leanna just now made me laugh, right? Because I had never seeing her laugh the way she did when we were discussing something off air, and I was, when the intro was playing, I was still laughing at her laughing. So yeah, good times. I guess we could tease the audience. We don't have to let them know what we were laughing at, but
I was laughing while the music was coming in, so you missed my laugh. Had to pull it together real quick.
Yeah, let's just say a certain person looked like they got their social media hacked, and
a certain person.
Yeah, a certain person. Let's put it that way. But anyway, good morning, and everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. We continue our conversation on mental health today with Cathy Sousa stopping by. Another important conversation. I so appreciate people like Ms. Curry and Ms. Sousa for giving us the time and coming to engage with us. So get your questions ready. She's more than ready to engage with everyone. The Daily Play is a say it, don't sing it. And folks, this is an unprecedented week on this show. It's unprecedented. Michaela has never gone 0 for 3. Never.
Well, Sherry got it on Monday, so I think that counts.
Really?
Yeah. We were in tandem.
Wow, folks. You know what?
You're going to try not to give that to me? We were in tandem.
No. I want you to be great. You got it.
I'm just saying.
I want you to be great. We're going to give it to her, folks. But yeah, let's get right to the conversation. We have the movement moment with Tamara Donnell coming up as well, but let's get right into the conversation because it's a hot one, and we've had numerous people asking, why haven't we talked about this topic? Why has the Daily Hour not gone there? Why haven't you at least mentioned it? Well, folks, you know why we exist. To meet your desires, your very interest, to make sure that we're talking about the very things that you want to talk about. What is this that we're talking about, Michaela?
Okay, so was it earlier this week or on the weekend? Government made announcements as far as what it planned to do to recognize our gold Olympian, Flora Duffy. And in that, I should have pulled it up so I could read it correctly. So government plans to rename Corkscrew Hill, Flora Duffy Hill. They plan to rename the South Stadium of the National Sports Center, Flora Duffy Stadium. There's meant to be a mural. There's going to be a statue commissioned, as well as an open air concert has been planned. And then government also announced that Clarence Hill, they will be commissioning a bronze bust of him as well.
My goodness, that sounds like some list, huh?
I mean,
but there's been backlash. There's been backlash about this, and this is where we want to go to the audience because, again, we want to find out, well, if this is an issue, what's the solution? Because everyone agrees that she should be honored in some way, right? So, audience, we need, look, you are constituents. Your voices should be heard. So here's your chance. What are your thoughts regarding government's Flora Duffy recognition. Too much doesn't make sense. I've heard seen all sorts of arguments and heard them. Some people saying the national stadium makes no sense because she doesn't do track. Right? We've had people say, I don't get the idea of Corkscrew Hill. And then some people said, well, at Corkscrew Hill makes more sense than National Stadium because she actually, that's where the triathlon went. I mean, I was being facetious when I said something about Port Royal, just rename it Flora Duffy, give it reason to, exist beyond the government closing it. I honestly, folks, I'm going to be honest with you. With all that's going on in the world, I legit have not given it much thought because it's not a priority to me. I don't think it should be a government priority. Do I mean she shouldn't be honored? No, I don't think that we should just not honor her. No, she deserves to be recognized and honored. What I'm simply saying is I had not given it much thought as to how we should honor or recognize Flora Duffy because we are dealing with so many other things. But the government went ahead and done so. And here we are with people, and there's a bit of backlash. Kales, before we go off with the audience, I just definitely want to hear your view.
So I stumbled upon this post on Facebook yesterday. I think the group is All Things Bermuda Discussion. And there was a post talking about essentially how Flora Duffy should not be named, the National Stadium should not be named after Flora Duffy because there's all these track people who've had incredible accomplishments, blah, 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 rah, rah, rah. So I think we have to be very clear. The National Sports Center is not being named the Flora Duffy Sports Center. The South Stadium of the National Sports Center is being named Flora Duffy Stadium. So where track is run, that's not being called Flora Duffy Stadium. So I just want to clarify that. So there was this whole post about all these other people and all their accomplishments and how they should be named this and that. And I feel like it's fine to talk about other people's accomplishments. It's fine for you to disagree with, perhaps the South Stadium of the National Sports Center being named Flora Duffy Stadium. What I won't tolerate is people trying to compare Carifta, Commonwealth, and all these other games with the prestige of the Olympics. You know what I mean? That for me is way off. We all know the Olympics is the creme de la creme. Getting an Olympic gold is a huge feat. And there was actually a comment on that post where Dawn Burgess, who many of you, I'm not sure if you know, Dawn Burgess writes all the Sports Hall of Fame bios, and he's written many sports related stuff. So he knows what he's talking about in terms of records. And basically Flora has all the records. Flora is the most decorated Bermudian athlete, period. So when you're trying to discount her accomplishments and try to say that, oh, well, this person won gold at Carifta, this person won this at Commonwealth, blah, blah, blah. That's not okay. You can disagree with the National Sports Center South Stadium being named Flora Duffy Stadium. I think that's kind of weird.
I kind of agree with a lot of what you're saying, but where I disagree, Michaela, and I want people to really listen to this part, really take this in. It's all good saying someone's a world champion, but we have to understand who runs the Olympics. That's number one. What's allowed in the Olympics. And then this is the most important part of being a world champion. How many people in the world actually compete in sports? So when you start going to the, getting real specific and stuff, if there's only 500 people competing versus in triathlons worldwide, but marathons, right, there's 5 million, then there's no comparison in terms of accomplishment. So I hear you, but I can't disagree when you're saying, oh, she would go to the Olympics and that. I mean, depending on sport, a gold is not comparable in each sport. You know what I'm saying? So a bronze in one sport can be like a gold in another.
I don't agree.
We have to really deeper
I don't agree.
Because
I think Olympic gold is Olympic gold.
In the U.S. as an example, but someone put it like same logic with NFL world champions. Like we have to think about who's competing in these things, right? We have to understand who's competing in them, and then really think about everything around it, rather than acting like a gold in one sport is as good as a gold in another. It's not the same. It's simply not. It's harder.
I mean, I get your point, but it's not like we're talking about ping pong.
See, but ping pong's probably harder to some people. You
Ping
know what I'm
pong's
saying?
harder than a triathlon.
It probably, I'm not saying it is, but again, it's all
Come
perspective.
on.
It's all perspective based. But again, I don't want to get too far off the topic, but again, I definitely feel that Flora should be honored. I have no problem with the renaming of Corkscrew Hill personally. You all thought I was being facetious. I probably was, but why not rename Port Royal after her? And keep the school going in honor of her, right? As far as the South Field, that's where the Kappa tournament, if you have children or you've coached or you're a football lover, that's where it's played. I don't necessarily agree with that simply because she didn't compete there. I do think there's other ways to do it. She has accomplished more than any other Bermudian has ever accomplished on the world stage, regardless of how many people compete in her sport, right? So we have to keep that in context, regardless of whether it was 5 or 5,000. She has accomplished something in a sport that's recognized at the Olympics. And with that, I mean, and Michaela, you mentioned the other day, I'm comparing it to someone in the islands that got a stadium named after him, right?
Yeah, Karani James in Grenada.
Yeah. And so I just don't, I guess for
And the
me,
stadium that he's named after, they play football at, by the way. It's mainly a football stadium.
Interesting. So, I mean, again, folks, look, I completely understand the backlash, but I can't necessarily agree with it. And the reason I say I can't agree with it, because for me, for instance, okay, if there's an issue with the South Stadium, well, let's name Port Royal. My question is, what do you believe how do you believe we should honor it then? Because again, and I'm gonna say there's one last thing before we go to the audience, Kales. Believe it or not, in the most, I guess, irrelevant of times for Bermuda, she actually put Bermuda on the map and kept us relevant in very various circles.
Absolutely.
You know? So
absolutely.
Let's the America's Cup, people were arguing about it on the weekend, laughing because there was an article came out about New Zealand. And they said, what always bothered me about that PwC report was they included potential visitors in their report of how much it benefited Bermuda, right? Which is a joke in itself, right? I wish as a business person, I can do that as well. Or potential customers based on what Michaela and I speak about today. Yeah. Right? Anyway, the point is, Flora Duffy actually had an impact. During the pandemic, you heard about Bermuda and it had nothing to do with the pandemic. That's on her, folks. You got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the thing. I think that maybe the backlash is coming and it's kind of twofold. There seem to be a lot of older Black Bermudians who don't like this because they probably feel they were obviously alive when Clarence was shunned, all of that. So maybe there's some of that. I think it's also because Bermudians, we're not used to our own being celebrated like this. We're not used to our own being, recognized with such grandeur. So I think it's probably twofold.
All right.
So it might seem OTT.
A quick programming note. We saw about 100 people drop off just now live. It looks like we just got a message that Facebook is having issues. Again, folks, this is why we encourage people to go on YouTube. So Facebook looks like it's having serious issues right now. If anyone can go on Facebook and let people know that they want to go on YouTube, make sure they subscribe. Let's go to some comments, Kales.
Yeah.
Never a doubt that. You all gonna think we're playing. Follow Michaela, listen to her advice. Follow Terry Too Cool, listen to their advice, folks. This is serious business. You don't want to miss out on these important conversations. Teresa Ann Marie, I think she's coming at me some way. I think I said some way. She says she's a world champion. Yes, she is, Teresa. Angeline Butler says, me either, Jamal, not much thought. Sam Cat plays kills.
Morning. Listen, government ain't got no money, so this is the least they can do. Not sure if many realize these athletes get money in other parts of the world. We don't have that. She will forever be the island's first gold medalist. She has busted her butt. Give her due. That's a really, really good point. Because government ain't got, $1 million to give her as a cash prize. I mean, they should, frankly. I'm just saying. However, ain't no money.
They definitely should. Carla John says we need to acknowledge the role race is playing in people's perception of what Flora Duffy deserves versus Mr. Hill still deserves. And I Carla, if we're being honest, I actually think that is an issue. Some people literally don't want to give her due because she's a white woman.
Yes.
And,
yes.
that it's a bit unfair on her, because even when
It's
we have her
very
on the show,
unfair.
like, she's actually, an engaging, nice young lady. Like, she is just out here trying to work hard. Like she said, she doesn't even get to visit family. Her life is triathlons, right? Folks,
Yeah, that's
sometimes
a huge part of it.
let it go. Like,
Mhm.
she's not your enemy. Like, she's not your enemy.
Right. And
Trust-
it's not up to her to right the wrongs from a UBP government from 1976. It's not
Correct.
on Flora to do that.
Correct. Sean Smith said, did anybody ask Miss Duffy what she would like? I'm pretty sure she'd say nothing. I'm pretty sure she would probably say nothing. But I think he's got a point.
Yeah, I would like to think that government had consultation with her. I mean,
Yeah.
I would like to think.
Yeah, but stranger things have happened.
Very true. Very true.
Smith, Michaela.
Very true.
Sorry.
It's all good. Something should be done to recognize her achievements, but to what extent? How about Couture Horton, parent chief, as being the first Black female diver in the Olympics? She should have some sort of recognition as well. I think we cannot lump Olympians and medalists in the same category. And that's what people were doing on social media last night, talking about all the Olympians Bermuda has produced, which is great. Of course, it's an incredible accomplishment to get to the Olympics, but a gold medal and qualifying for the Olympics are not the same.
Yeah. Talent Clark makes a great point. South would be where the track is, because if we're looking, North Shore is closer to the field.
Yeah, I don't know why they call it South Stadium. I don't.
But yeah, you're right, Talent. He says isn't the South Stadium where they run track, but
I could be saying it wrong, but what I've seen everywhere is South Stadium. Yeah. And the explanation has been where they play cricket, where Kappa is held, where rugby is held. So something ain't right.
Yeah. No. Nachika Trot says, kudos to Flora for her accomplishments. I understand Corkscrew being renamed. Basically, she doesn't understand the National Sports Center. Renee Sherlin Simmons says, where track is run is the South Stadium, where the rugby is held is where the pool is North Stadium.
Well, the announcement was a bit flawed then, because they keep saying South Stadium and they keep saying where the rugby's played. So I
figured, based on geography, I thought that the government just had them wrong. I'm gonna be honest with you. We know the difference between North and South, but
I mean, I like to think I do.
Yeah, well,
I'm not great with direction, but
you're not great with something.
Not direction, no.
Really?
No. But when people ask me where I live, I'm like, wait a second, North? Is it South? Wait.
On the hand says, people just like to complain about everything. Terry K says, it's similar to our national stadium where there's a track field. Karani James, the alignment makes sense. Let's go Don Watson, Sue, and the Chico Trot Kills.
No, it is not Karani James Stadium. They have track meets. Most football fields, there's track. Yeah, I'm not saying that they don't have a track thing there, but it's mostly used for football.
Okay.
I've been there. Maybe we need to educate our people on sports accomplishment. Where is the physical and online presence of the Sports Hall of Fame? I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I don't know either. Terry K says renaming Corkscrew in her honor makes sense. Maybe rename or open water like a sound after Flora. Maybe like
rename a beach or open water.
Flora Sound.
I don't know.
Replace the great sound. Yeah, but I see where you're going with that.
Yeah,
I see where you're going. Makes sense. All right, Sonia Clark kills.
It does not matter. Bermuda are embarrassing, and their opinions are always right.
Okay, and let's get Bermuda girl before we bring Lee in.
BOA give athletes, that's Bermuda Olympic Association, give athletes money when they win medals. BOA sponsored by government, but yes, it's not $1 million, but she gets money. I mean, I'm sure she gets more money from her sponsors than she is getting from her home country.
Indeed, that would make sense. Charles H. Jeffers II says, why wouldn't they name the whole complex after her? They will never be a first gold medalist in Bermuda. And this is true. There would never be another first gold medalist.
It will never. And I just feel like I don't appreciate that people are kind of downplaying it. Like an island of our size is never supposed to win a gold medal. We're not supposed to have someone who's better than everyone in the world. Yes, triathlon is small compared to track and field or football or whatever, but as an island of 21 square miles, we're not supposed to have this, you know? So the fact that we have this and she is dominating her sport and, you know, kicking ass and taking names and all that, this deserves celebration. And I don't know. It's just frustrating me that
she said the A word, folks.
You said it.
All the time. But no, sorry, Tess, go ahead.
It's just frustrating me that there just seems to be this racial tension around it when it has nothing to do with her. She did nothing wrong. And if she was a Black girl, I feel like these conversations wouldn't be had. And that's what really frustrates me.
I think I mean, if we're all being honest, and I'm glad that Carla John actually said that, I think this is very true. I believe that race does play an issue, and even blindly, like people don't even know that they're biased is because she is not a Black person. And so, folks, honestly, for me, I'm just looking at what she's accomplished as an athlete. I understand the impact that it's had and could have for Bermuda, and I believe that she should be honored. I'm not really prepared to argue or debate what we should give her, but at the end of the day, we have to get this right. Bermuda got it wrong 40-something years ago. It's time to make it right. Lee, let's bring Lee into the convo.
Good morning.
Hey, Lee.
I am great. I was a little tired this morning, but, you know, after this conversation, feeling a little bit more amped up.
Yeah. Lee, when you and Michaela go into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, I don't think there's such a thing in Bermuda yet, but you guys are great, so it's going to be created for you, right?
It'll be called the Michaela and Leanna Hall.
Can you let me finish my thought? So it's going to be called Michaela and Leanna Hall of Fame. And you're going to be recognized for all what you've brought to Bermuda in broadcasting and journalism. And I'm going to be, with my cane, old, teary-eyed. I'm so proud that I can stand up and point my cane and say, I knew them before they were them.
This is entertaining.
I appreciate it, Val.
I say it honestly because I just feel like from a Bermuda context, we have never really perfected the art of recognizing people. We can go with Clyde Best, right? What he accomplished on the field in England. And you see it as it pertained to Nicky Wells when he first went to England and he was, turning things up. Like it was like this hesitancy to do it. And so I think with Flora, we need to jump on it and say, you know what, maybe this is that person who breaks how we celebrate people and their accomplishments. So, hopefully, and I mean this, I was being facetious. No, I was joking. But folks, honestly, you have a lot of people, Montague Shepard, Mr. Brown, Brownlow Place, that have been stalwarts in journalism and broadcasting. And if you ask young people who want to get into this space who they are, they probably wouldn't know. Yeah. So I jokingly said that, but yes, there should be some space Hall of Fame where people like these are recognized and they can be studied. And then the next generation can come on and say, you know what? I remember Leanna. I remember Michaela. When I was young, my mother used to watch them, and like it's something to look up to. So, sorry to put you guys both on this.
Got all emotional and
I know. It's like, teary-eyed.
Let's go to the news break, and we've got Cathy Sousa coming up with another important conversation, folks. Seriously, really good important conversation. Leanna's going to bring you the news break, all smiles, or enough of the mushy stuff. All right, folks. That's not me, man. Let me wash myself off. Over to you, Lee.
Thank you, Mal and Michaela. Happy hump day, everyone. We've made it to the middle of the week, and I hope everyone is having a great start to their day. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for the Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. So here's what's going on in today's top stories. Exceptions to the air arrival or travel ban for unvaccinated foreign arrivals to the United States will be very limited, the country's consulate in Bermuda has warned. A spokesperson for the U.S. consulate said that all adult foreign nationals traveling to the United States by air must demonstrate proof of full vaccination against COVID-19. Now, this could be in the form of showing proof of a negative test result 3 days before departure, written or electronic documentation of recovery from the coronavirus, and a letter from a doctor or public health official stating that the passenger was cleared for travel. Now, waivers or exceptions to the vaccination requirement for foreign nationals will be very limited, they say. It isn't clear as yet of how the restrictions might affect medical evacuations from the island to the U.S. Now, the requirement will come into force early next month, but a date has not yet been announced. In other news, a woman was rushed to hospital with serious head injuries after a motorcycle crash yesterday. According to police, the 43-year-old rode over a newly installed speed bump on LaFan Street near Bull's Head Car Park just before 3 p.m. Now, she was thrown from the cycle when she lost control of her bike and struck her head on the roadway. She was reportedly in and out of consciousness and was transported to hospital via ambulance for her injuries. The city of Hamilton issued a statement saying that the incident is under investigation and their thoughts and prayers are with the accident victim. Police have appealed for witnesses to contact them. The abnormally large speed bump, if you will recall, was placed there by the COH to slow down traffic in the area and to provide added protection for a Balco fuel line for large electrical cables and the Pembroke Marsh Canal flow pipe. Meanwhile, a combination of history, art, and service has helped the Hamilton Princess and Beach Club earn a top 5 spot in an international travel magazine's list of best resorts. Now, this marks the 5th year the City Hotel was recognized by readers of Condé Nast Traveler. The resort was voted the 5th best resort in the Atlantic Islands and was the highest ranked of Bermuda hotels. Rosewood Bermuda took the 15th place. Now, welcoming the recognition of the hard work put in by the entire hotel staff, Tim Morrison, the hotel's GM, said that this is a wonderful achievement in any year, but has particular significance in this one. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 81 and a low near 74 degrees. We'll see a bright start to the day with a chance of an early shower or two. Bright and sunny conditions for today and Thursday are anticipated with light breezes and a slight uptick in humidity levels. Now, a weak front is to sweep in from the north later on Thursday into Friday, bringing increases to cloud cover and the potential for showers, so you might want to keep those umbrellas handy. That's all for our daily hour news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. But before we go, we want to leave you with a little helpful tip from your favorite community pharmacist. Never give your child ibuprofen or Nurofen or Advil liquids if you suspect chickenpox. Now, it makes the virus go deeper into the tissue and can cause a more severe reaction. You can always trust People's Pharmacists to tell you what to be aware of when taking medications. Now, let's head back to Jamel and Michaela in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
So you do a great job of pronouncing those things, and all that stuff with the People's Pharmacy stuff, because I'm like, man, you know me and pronunciations, it has to be like 2 syllables. But anyway, interesting. I didn't even think people still got chickenpox, so that's interesting.
Or you have to get a vaccine for it.
Oh, it's see what you did there. Michaela just had that one waiting.
She was ready,
Just quick on her feet. But Lee, thank you so much for that. Gonna take a quick break, folks. We're gonna be right back with Cathy Sousa for another important conversation, folks. Look, most of you have transitioned over to YouTube, which is great. But please go back like your cousins over on Facebook. We all got one of those family members that just
don't pay attention.
Go back on Facebook, let your cousins know we're over on YouTube. Very important conversation with our friend Cathy Sousa. Lee, we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. I'm gonna hop over.
Bye, Lee.
Okay.
All right, folks, we'll be right back. Do not go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Karen, a nurse at the old folks home. These long hours used to kill my feet until my hairdresser told me about a great place to buy a pair of clogs. Medical House. Finally, relief. They also carry uniforms in bright, bold colors. And not to mention the support stockings.
Karen, Miss Soltis bet her bet again.
Oh gosh, these days, I need all the support I can get.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendytown Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke.
With perfect timing for the height of the summer, Greenhouse Bermuda brings us the island's newest iced tea, Newman's Own Organic Iced Tea in a kaleidoscope of delicious flavors. Most shoppers have seen Newman's Own in the condiment section, recognizable due to the founder's caricature prominently featured on the label, and many pick it up in the knowledge that 100% of the profit goes to registered charities. Newman's Own offers us a new refreshing thirst quencher, dry raspberry, lemon, peach, and passion fruit organic Newman's Own iced teas. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. She's Michaela N. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and our friends at People's Pharmacy. As you may have noticed, yesterday we had Gwendolyn Creary. We spoke about early childhood mental health. We're focusing on mental health this week as it's Mental Health Awareness. So this morning we'll be speaking with Cathy Sousa about school-age mental health. Let's bring Ms. Sousa into the conversation. Good morning, madam, and welcome back.
Hi, good morning, Jamal. Good morning, Michaela. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. You know, I love to have people like yourself on, experts. We discuss a lot of stuff. As you saw in the first 15 minutes, we have discussions every morning. But during this part, we actually have experts on who can actually take conversations to another level. So we appreciate, I can't thank enough when you all do come on and engage with the audience to answer their questions. But for those who don't know and may not have seen you last time you were on, just give a quick, concise way of explaining like who you are, a bit about your background and what you do. Okay.
So I'm a professional counselor. I'm qualified to provide counseling to a wide variety of age groups, right? Yeah. But I also have a postmaster's certificate in child and adolescent therapy. And it happens to be like, my passion. I really love kids and I love to be able to be helpful to children and families.
I tell you this, folks, if I need, a certain level of assistance and help, the one word I'm looking for is passion. Somebody's passionate about doing it, then you sold me already. You want people who love it, love what they do, not someone who's just, look, I need to pay my bills. So we appreciate that already. Just speak to us. Why is it so important for us to talk about mental health in the school age group? Why is it such an important conversation?
Well, I think, the important thing is when we can catch things early, we can prevent a lot of problems in adulthood and therefore in society, right? So kids that do struggle with some mental health problems, children usually act out, right? You can usually see it in their behavior. There are more kids that are identified that are, behavioral problems. But, then you also have the kids who internalize, and those are the withdrawn and quiet children. And in adulthood, those things are going to come out in the way they interact with society.
Absolutely. So what kind of signs can we look for in school-age children that there might be some mental health issues, aside from, like you just mentioned, behavior?
Well, I think the behavior thing is important because even though you said aside from that.
Well, I mean, if you want to expand on it.
It's really important because behavior that is, let's say, undesirable in the home or at school is viewed as like willful misbehavior, and it is dealt with through punishment. And of course, we know that punishment is only going to exacerbate mental health issues. So the way that we deal with behavioral issues really, really needs to be looked at closely. And unfortunately, that's not what usually happens. And then on the flip side, with the kids that internalize, the ones that are more withdrawn and quiet, they are viewed as well-behaved kids, and we don't need to give attention to them. So on both sides of the spectrum, kids are not dealt with appropriately, especially in school, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally understand that. I have a 13-year-old and it's a funky time. A funky time to say the least.
Girl or boy?
A boy. I have both. I have 2 boys.
Yeah, I think it's scary times to be raising boys in particular, but girls as well.
Yeah.
Things have really, really changed.
They have.
And things that worked for us don't work for these kids. So people think that we should just know, right? We should just know what to do. And so we go by what we know in dealing with kids. And when it doesn't work, you know what we do? We try harder at what doesn't work.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. So what kind of methods do you use with your clients to help them?
Well, first of all, I really don't like working just with the child exclusively, right? So having sessions with the child alone, yes, absolutely. But it's really important for me, in my practice, to involve the family, because whatever you achieve in 1 hour, the child has to go a whole week usually before they come back to you. Now, how long do you think it's going to take for these kids to really take on board what they're learning? It's difficult.
Yeah.
So, you spend all your time in your family, and when parents can be given tools to help their children, then they can continue reinforcing those things throughout the week. And therefore, kids can develop strategies to modify or correct what's going on for them. Now, your question was, what do I do? Well, it really depends on the child, right? And it depends on what they're dealing with. But I often use things like what we call bibliotherapy. It's like reading a story that is related to what the child is dealing with. So if a child comes in with, a problem with lying or getting along with peers or dealing with divorce or grief, I will, spend a few minutes of every session, maybe reading a story about that, and a story about how other kids have dealt with those types of situations. And kids love that, right?
Yeah.
I also love to use games. So, and I also use a lot of, I guess you could say, arts and crafts. So that, because for children, that one-on-one, face-to-face conversation is not terribly appealing to most children.
Yeah.
We do have some kids who are very talkative and they just love the attention of having a conversation with an adult, right? But for the most part, it's a bit intimidating for kids, and they don't always have access to their feelings or what's going on. So playing a game, making things like arts, crafts, working with clay or something like that, and then having a conversation whilst doing that is the child doesn't realize that they're accessing a lot of the things that they wouldn't on the surface. If I directly ask them a question, then they might say, I don't know.
Right.
But when they're busy doing something, they're enjoying themselves, they're enjoying the activity, they are much more likely to be able to talk about things. And then, of course, working with their bodily sensations, having them get in touch with what it feels like to be anxious. Where do you feel that in your body? And then giving them tools to help with that. When you're acting out, what are you feeling like? What do you feel like in your body? Because we know that the body holds so much of our experiences and our emotional experiences, and certainly with traumatic experiences. So helping a child to get in touch with their bodily sensations is also really important.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So what help is available locally for parents who need help with their children, who might need therapy, might need some counseling for whatever issues that they have?
Well, it seems to me that a lot of kids, especially, in the public school system, they end up consulting with Child and Adolescent Services, which is a division of Mid-Atlantic Wellness Institute. So and they're seen there. The only problem with that is they deal with primarily like very serious issues rather than some of the things that are preventative or catching things early, right? So if a child doesn't have a diagnosis of depression or anxiety or ADHD, or they're not likely, they may be assessed at Child and Adolescent Services, but they're not likely to get ongoing services. There's also the Family Center that does a lot of really great work with kids. And they tend to have a waiting list, unfortunately. So really, and of course, there are private practitioners that do see children. So, there is maybe like not as much awareness about what parents can do that's easily accessible to them.
Yeah.
Like without having a lot of money for private.
Right. That's what I was going to say, because I mean, I talk about therapy a lot. I go to therapy biweekly, and there is a cost, obviously. So are there services that are accessible for parents where it's not, every time my kid goes, it's $120,
I know. It's just the Family Center, and to my knowledge, I should say, just the Family Center and Child and Adolescent Services. Both of those places provide services for free.
Okay.
But again, there's waiting lists and there's criteria that needs to be met for them to provide those services.
Right. So if parents want to get in contact with you to explore possibly working with you, with their child, how does that work? Where can they find you?
Well, my website is www.catherinesousa.com. I prefer to be contacted on WhatsApp as opposed to email. But so my WhatsApp number is 441-777-4379. And email Catherine Sousa, MSED@gmail.com.
Perfect.
If you have any questions or comments for Ms. Sousa, please feel free to share them now, and we'll ask her as many as possible. But I want to go back to Michaela. I think we asked about why is it important to talk to children this in this age group about mental health. Speak about this, but I want to go back to because let's talk about the stigmas, right? Is there a stigma where parents may know that there's an issue with a child, but yet they don't want to put their child in that position and seem like bad parents and so on? How do you approach those situations?
I was just going to say that. The stigma is for the parents, right? That a lot of parents, if they're really concerned about their child, they might be open to accepting some kind of intervention. But when it comes to actually involving the parent, some people are reluctant, right? They it's okay to fix my kid, but don't delve into all my stuff of parenting and what I do at home and stuff like that, because it's very intimidating. And like you said, the stigma about having your interactions with your child evaluated, if you will, it can be terrifying in a way. That said, everybody, like, we're not born knowing how to parent. And I think it was even said yesterday, Gwen might have said that, we parent according to how we were parented. So sometimes we'll parent in direct opposition to how we were parented. So
that's interesting.
Parented in a certain way, and we didn't like it, then we might say, oh, I'm never going to be like that. And then we go all the way to the other side. Or we replicate it, right? If we feel that we were raised well, then, or if we don't think about how we're parenting, we will parent the way we were parented. And like I said before, with children in today's society, things have changed so rapidly in the last 25 years. It's phenomenal what has changed, what these kids are exposed to at younger ages. All that kind of thing makes a huge difference. So when we try and parent according to how we were parented, then we're using strategies that actually don't work well for these kids.
Yeah.
These kids are much more aware, you know?
Yes, it's, yeah. The things that my son gets away with, I could never, ever.
Right. And in this day and age, in certain families, there's more leeway in allowing a child to be themselves rather than just following orders, right?
Yes.
Giving them some room for self-expression. Back in the day, and even now with certain families, that would be considered back talk. Like,
and then you get smacked in the mouth.
And the child is simply inquiring, like, well, why? Like, how come I can't do that? Or
because I said so. Because I said so.
Children are allowed to negotiate these days.
They are, Lord.
We have another question as we're running out of time. I just want to get to as many questions as possible. Sean Smith's asking, how much does a child's diet/eating habits play in their mental health?
Well, we know that nutrition does play a role in mental health, and in terms of maintaining good mental health in particular, nutrition in terms of treating mental health problems, partially. Okay, so there's a piece that can be addressed that way, no question. And certainly, I deal with things holistically, right? So we are going to look at all of those things when interacting with the child, like what's going on with your diet, your environment. Is it a healthy environment? Are the foods that you're eating healthy? Are you getting enough exercise? All of those things are really, really important. And again, primarily with maintaining, but also partially in treatment.
All righty. We have Nachika Trot asking, are such services for children not covered by insurance?
Good question. Most are, but not all families have insurance, and that's a big problem.
All right. Publicly relating with the brand line says, what role does race and sex play, I believe gender, in pairing therapists and children, i.e. should white women therapists be supporting young Black boys?
I think personally, the ideal would be for young Black males to have a Black male therapist. I think they benefit from having the therapist as a role model. And unfortunately, male therapists are hard to come by, and Black male therapists are even harder to come by. So it's a difficult thing. You know, when I've been to some of the career expos and things like that, I don't see a whole lot of promotion of counseling and therapy, unfortunately. So there are a lot of people in high school thinking about careers and don't even really recognize the possibilities in this area.
Yeah. Before you go, another awesome conversation. Again, I know a lot of people came over from Facebook. Facebook went down this morning, but thank you for to those who came over and told everyone that we were on YouTube, and appreciate these conversations and the audience interaction. Just want to share with from Miriam Simmons before we let you go. She says parents as well as children are learning every day. Man, we only wish each child came with an instructional manual. I think you both just said that. Thank you, Ms. Sousa,
absolutely,
for your dedication
and an updated 2021 manual too, right? Not Dr. Spock.
Exactly. How to parent effectively.
One last question before you go. Shikarina's asking, are school guidance counselors able to provide referrals to a provider like you?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's an excellent question, because school counselors are good for the immediate intervention. Like if there's something going on at school, they can meet with the child and find out, what the needs are. And yes, then providing that referral to a practitioner is really important, that they know that they can do that. And they do, right? Most of them do that. They don't have time to do counseling like on a weekly basis or anything.
Right. Do you need referrals for children to come to you? Like, do they have to be referred? No? Okay.
No. And can I just say, I don't know how much time we have left, but I want to say one thing. And that is one of the things that we don't have as parents today, and that we know children really, really need, is conversations around emotions. It's so important, because how is a child going to be able to express what they're feeling like if they don't even know the words to use? So that's part of what I do, but it's also something that could be done at home. But we can't do it at home, because when I ask you what you're feeling about something, you can't answer me because you were never given the tools.
Yeah,
it's
that's
really,
interesting.
really hard.
Language, words,
if kids had the words to talk about how they felt, a lot of problems could be alleviated, right? They're not holding on to everything for long periods of time.
Indeed. Well, Cathy Sousa, thank you so much for doing this. Again, just remind people your WhatsApp so they can get in touch with you. And I just want to reiterate, folks, you know, I was a young child who was in therapy. My mother saw the issues I was having, and she wasn't afraid of the stigma or anything. My hope is that when we have these conversations, people start to understand that the priority is, the well-being, mental well-being.
Absolutely.
Opinion.
Well, I appreciate your interest, Jamel. I really, really do, because it just is not talked about enough.
No, it isn't. And honestly, I feel like we need to have these conversations more than just Mental Health Awareness Week. We, probably every few months, but I just want people in our community. Michaela's been very open with her therapy. Like, we need to feel comfortable doing things that are in our best interest. So thanks again.
And let me tell you this, therapists have therapists, okay?
Absolutely.
So let's take some of the stigma away there. We're not doing this job because we're perfect.
Yeah, just real quickly, give us one more time.
777-4379.
All right, Catherine Sousa. She is a counselor out there helping young people, all people, but especially school-age children. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Right. Keisha Allen Smith actually shared something really good just now. She says emojis are a great tool to use to teach children about emotions. We're going to take a quick break with Tamara with the Movement Moment, and then we will be back with
oh gosh.
You know what happens? You beat Michaela, you win big.
Welcome to this Movement Moment, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Together, we can illuminate your path to wellness.
Welcome to today's Movement Moment with Tamara Donnell, brought to you by People's. Tamara, what are we discussing today?
Good morning. It has been a while since we've been discussing anything. This month, the month of October, we move on in our horoscope of power to cover honor, the power of legacy. Considering our horoscope of power is about designing a life and making choices that support living a better life, hopefully even your best life. Many people might be wondering, where does honor come into a discussion on health and wellness? But most times when we think of honor, we would tend to think about some fundamentalist religious person, imposing their views on the masses. But when you look up the definition of honor, especially the verb honor, it's to fulfill an obligation or to keep an agreement. And in my opinion, that has everything to do with our plan for designing a better or your best life.
Thank you for tuning into this Movement Moment. To enjoy the benefits of the full episode, check us at Instagram at MVMT with Tamara Donnell or at People's BDA.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio. Tune in every Tuesday through Sunday at 7 p.m. Bermuda time as we bring you the love, romance, sexiness with nighttime jams. Only on your station for conversations and entertainment. BCG Radio. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices.
All right. Thanks again to Cathy Sousa and BHB for putting together these great conversations this week. We're focusing on mental health. Thanks again to One Communications, Lindo's, and Medical House, as well as People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you. Time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0, great taste, no alcohol. Folks, you know how this goes. If you guess before Michaela, you win a prize. Michaela, are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's a say it, don't sing it, folks. Here are the lyrics to today's song. I think she's got this one. Quote, a summer disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the wind, you know, because they got nowhere to go.
Say it again. Someone beat me?
Let's see. I think someone did. No one got it.
I'm just realizing how many songs I know, and I only know the hook. That's what I'm realizing through all of this.
Yeah. So, quote, a summer disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the wind, you know, because they got nowhere to go.
Yeah. Man in the Mirror?
It was Man in the Mirror.
Yeah, it's becoming way more obvious to me that the majority of the popular songs, I only know the hooks.
Keisha Allen Smith got it. Sheikah Rana got it. Sam Cat plays. Carla John, we're gonna get you something. So it is it's right before the hook. So it's the part right before the hook. A summer disregard.
Oh, yeah.
One man soul. Yeah, that part.
Yeah, no.
We got it, folks. So, I mean, she's 1.5 out of 3 this week. Half out of 3.
We shall see. I'll redeem myself tomorrow and Friday.
All right, she's very good on.
I will end the week strong.
Yeah, she's very good. Name that place in the feud, folks. Kales, what are your thoughts on today's show?
I love the conversation. I think that Flora Duffy winning gold has really, exposed a lot of the racial tensions that we like to suppress. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see how that all happens because she arrives on Monday. So it'll be really interesting to see how that works. I love the conversation about mental health. I love talking about it in school-aged kids. Like you, I was in therapy at 12 when my parents separated and were going through a divorce. And at the time, I thought it was pointless, but looking back, it was essential. So I really love this conversation. I hope that there can be more resources for kids at this age before it gets to the point where it gets serious, right? So I really appreciate Cathy coming on and talking about this because it's such a good conversation. And it's a lot of things that we need to address, especially, I'm not saying therapy's not for everyone, but especially in the Black community, I feel like therapy's like taboo. We don't like to talk about it,
Indeed. For both conversations, again, I think when it comes to Flora Duffy, I'm so thankful for Carla John saying that because I do believe that her race plays a role in why some people just don't want to honor or should, recognize her as what she's accomplished. Yeah. And that's sad because all we're doing is the same things that were done to Clarence Hill when we do that.
Exactly.
On that note, I appreciate the conversation. I was school aged when I started going to my counselor. And so I'll forever be thankful to my mother for making that decision because my life could have went way different, but she recognized some issues. And, it was Dr. Ewart Brown that told my mother, hey, I recommend this person. And from there, it went. Therapy is important. And it fascinates me and it disappoints me that there's still this stigma surrounding it. And I'm hopeful that we can mature to a space to understand that it's okay. It's okay to talk to someone about what's going on. It's okay to ask for help. My hope is that we get to that place sooner rather than later.
Yes.
I know you've got some daily inspiration for us, kiddos.
I do. This is from Albert Einstein. You have to learn the rules of the game, and then you have to play better than anyone else.
I like that. I like that. All right. So, well, look, let's. It's time to say goodbye to everyone for the day. At least, Yeah, it's a fast-moving show, folks. But thanks again to our partners, Medical House One Communications and Lindos, along with People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you so much for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Michaela N. I'm Jamal Hartman. My friends, please do make it a great and safe day.